Take it off, sir. Go somewhere else. If you take off, I can take you to jail. It's a police order. I'm not playing games. I'm not security.
Alright, first things first, I need to formally apologize. In the last video I talked about the police encounter and the weird weather phenomenon in Miami. A lot of you guys expressed interest in seeing those. Long story short, my hard drive was completely full and I had to clear out space, and I accidentally archived that footage and it's gone forever. I figured enough people expressed interest in it, we'll just do like a story time as I go fly around, but if you might notice, my paramotor's broken. Now that I officially sent out the giveaway motor, the electric motor, to Randy, I guess this is one of the cons of gas motors. If you can tell very, very slightly, there's a little crack in my exhaust elbow on the Vitarazi Factory R. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed because this whole joint thing was supposed to fix the cracking issue, but it didn't. It's about $250 later, I have a new elbow. Luckily, it wasn't catastrophic. I didn't have to land out. I didn't lose any power. It's just something I noticed on a pre-flight inspection, but I'll show you the problem I'm having now. So there's an exhaust bushing that these motors use. It's a little piece of bronze that has to be replaced off the manifold, and I have it in my freezer. Problem is, I can't get this damn thing off, so we're gonna try to get it now. Yep, definitely still hot. I'm gonna let that cool. We have a brand new bronze bushing. That's what the piece looks like. It's kind of like a vibration dampening thing for the exhaust. Good news is, it's actually looking like I might be able to fly tonight. Alrighty, so I'm quite curious to see how the air conditions are today, because it was a hot one. I think it hit about 100 today. And the flag way off in the distance over there is still pretty much pegged, but we'll see. I'm also curious about this exhaust elbow, because my original one, the one I just replaced, it never got that cool purple and blue coloring to it, which I've seen other people's factory exhausts get that coloring. So I'm hoping this one looks a little bit cooler. Anyways, I think we'll just take off and we'll fly into the wind around some of these little mountains, and I'll tell you guys my best recollection of the police incident and the weather incident. Let's teleport up into the sky.
Alrighty, I feel like I have to apologize again. I don't even remember the last time I made an error this big of deleting that much footage by accident. This is my job. I have to do better. Anyway, it is a little bit strong. It's not too bumpy, but the wind speed is strong, so we're making do. We're approaching some little mountains and hills to go fly around, which will be fun. Alright, so to recap, in case you guys missed the cruise ship episode, I was invited on this trip out to Miami. It was a whole bunch of pilots from all around the world, Brazil and the UK, as well as a couple locals to Miami. And the big exciting flight we were all looking forward to was flying around the biggest cruise ship in the world. So we head out to this park, and everything is normal. This is a park that paramotor pilots use regularly. Now, to my understanding, within a week before we flew from this site, there was some type of incident with a paramotor pilot and law enforcement. I don't know exactly what happened, but it didn't sound good. So it sounded like the police were kind of already on the lookout for paramotorists. Anyway, we're at this park. We're all getting set up and ready to go fly. A couple pilots had taken off. I think 3 or 4 of the guys had launched. Meanwhile, I'm getting my motor on, I'm going to hook up to my wing, and I see this police officer in the distance turn his lights on and come over, and he gets out his vehicle, incredibly irate and starts yelling. He's definitely on like one of those power trips, and you can see that in the footage that I do have still recovered.
Take it off, sir. Go somewhere else. If you take off, I can take you to jail. It's a police order. I'm not playing games. I'm not security.
He comes up and he's yelling at us, like, way more pissed off than he has to be for the situation. Like, there's absolutely no need to escalate to, one, yelling, and two, threatening to put us in jail. Look at this big old rock. I got ridge lift on this side. The winds are honking up here. So Buddy's just yelling at some of my buddies. He makes his way over to me, and that's where you see my footage, where you can actually make out the audio of him threatening to put me in jail if I take off. Which, first off, that doesn't really make much sense, because it's like, if I take off, I'm gone. And how is he going to put me in jail? I'm not coming back to land there for sure. Second, as some people pointed out in the comments, there's something illegal. I don't know the exact specifics, but if a police officer threatens to put you in jail or arrest you over something that is illegitimate, I believe that's like a crime or something. I don't know the legal jargon, but it's not good. And that's exactly what this guy did. So when he approached me, I approached him in a very calm manner, as I usually do. And one of the first things he said to me is like, "You guys have been doing this," and I'm like, "Hold on, I'm not from here. Don't group me in. Like, I'm from Arizona. I was not involved in anything, so like, catch me up. What's going on?" And that's when he described that the park is not allowing paramotors to fly there anymore. And I started to question him, and I was like, okay, is there a law or a regulation that the park has put in place to prohibit the activity of paramotors flying from here? And that's when he responded, there was a policy. And my interpretation of policy is BS. I think he was just threatening based off of no actual legal matter. From what I looked into, under the park rules, which you can find on the website, there is nothing to say that paramotoring or flying or aircraft or anything of the like is prohibited from the park. Townships can create ordinances, parks can create their own rules to prohibit the launch and landing of aircraft or paramotors or anything like that. But as far as I can tell, this park did not have that in place. I think in this situation, if I had continued to press him, we would have gotten to the point where I could have been like, well, if I take off right now and you actually take me to jail, there's no actual regulation or law for you to legitimately put me in jail under. Maybe I missed something. Maybe there's some regulation out there that, you know, I'm unaware of for that specific area, but from the research I did, there was nothing. So anyways, we all fly around the cruise ship. That was incredible. And our plan was to fly north up the coast and land at a different site. Now, the thing about beach flying is you always want an onshore wind coming from the ocean, because that means, one, it's going to be laminar, like smooth wind, and two, it means that, worst case scenario, if the wind gets strong, it's pushing you into the land versus pushing you out to sea, which is not a good thing. We're flying up the coast, headed north. Everything's perfect. The wind is perfectly smooth. We're flying hands off up the beach, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, I see the pilot in front of me get rocked by some turbulence. And shortly after, I get rocked by some turbulence. And some turbulence that came out of nowhere and was strong enough for me to be like, oh, this is not good. So we all immediately climb and keep climbing to altitude. And the air just gets worse and worse. And what we can feel is, it feels like it's switched from an east wind to a west wind. So our first thought was that the wind was blowing over the buildings to our left and creating massive rotor turbulence. But as we gained altitude, we didn't escape the turbulence. It just kept getting worse and worse. You can see in the short video clips that I do still have, I'm getting tossed around. I'm checking surges on this exact wing, my Freeride 16. And the surges are so strong that the fabric is going crinkly above me. And that indicates that if I wasn't actively piloting, I for sure would have been taking collapses without a doubt. And 2 other pilots actually took pretty decent collapses in this whole event. A few things are going through my mind. The feel of the turbulence wasn't this small, sharp turbulence. It was big, like wallowy, wavy turbulence where I felt like all of a sudden I was just dropping out of the sky and I was hitting the power and I was still going down. I didn't have pressure in my wing, and then all of a sudden I'd be lifted uncontrollably. It just felt like I was getting ragdolled by Mother Nature. And the next thing I was thinking is the wind's now out of the west, pushing me towards the ocean. So worst case scenario, if I have to toss my reserve, I'm getting blown out into the ocean. You can hear in my voice in the clip I do still have. Okay, what the I was like genuinely scared in that moment because it was just completely out of nowhere. It was like a weird weather anomaly. I was not expecting it. I couldn't make sense of it. Nothing made sense of like, why did the wind just completely flip directions? So basically we're all just held at maybe 1,000 feet, I'm just guessing, in this really uncomfortable turbulence. There were banner towing planes coming up and down the coast, so it definitely wasn't ideal. And probably 10 or 15 minutes went by, felt like much longer, and one of the pilots decided to make an approach and land on the beach. Now, we could see a couple flags down on the beach, and eventually we saw that it switched back out of the east. So we did our best. We skirted around all the people. We all land on the beach. The wind had flipped back to east, thankfully. And then we all just stood around like, what was that? Like, no one could make sense of it. We all traded stories, and that's when I heard that 2 other guys had taken collapses. My analysis of this whole situation, when we pulled up Windy, the weather app, after the fact, we kind of saw that it looked like there was some type of convergence of wind happening in the vicinity of where we were at, which kind of explained what had happened. I don't know what caused that convergence or where it came from, if it was forecasted ahead of time, but it definitely was showing up on the Windy map that was what happened. Maybe we could have predicted it if we had looked at Windy like right before taking off. I don't know, but I kind of feel like this was one of those anomaly situations where that's why you carry a reserve and that's why you have flotation, because there's so many things in paramotoring that are under your control and your own decision making, but then every so often either you get caught off guard or there's just that weird thing that's an actual anomaly and you don't see it coming, and then you have to deal with it, and that's kind of like the hidden danger that you can't control.
All right, to answer the question about the exhaust, it looks exactly the same as when I took off, maybe a little bit bronze, but no purple or blues. Hopefully it gets there. Anyways, that's a scoop on the police situation and the weather phenomenon. I am working on gathering some information on that 4-stroke EOS Quattro engine, which I want to do for the next giveaway. But if you guys watched till now, comment like what type of content you want to see until the next giveaway. It's kind of getting hot here in Arizona, so morning flights are going to become the thing, and I do want to travel a little bit. I want to trade my camper and get something different because now my mission is slightly different now that I live out here. So I want to sell the old camper, get a new one, and I want to do a road trip to like Moab and Salt Lake and maybe Idaho. But we'll see. Stay tuned. Travel would be fun. Till the next one, have fun, fly safe. Peace.